President Thabo Mbeki at that point in time, his establishing of COPE, the failure of, I think the only thing that we can ask of the youth, especially the young people within the ANC, is that they need to desist from campaigning for the ANC. The institutional memory is still the same. Mandela is gone. Mbeki is gone. Motlanthe is gone. Zuma is gone. The institutional memory remains the same, and that's why it's manifesting in the second Ramaphosa administration. You know, I have a friend of mine, Famous Bob. He's an artist from Nigeria. He's currently in South Africa, busy recording an album. So he's in the studio here. And he was crying about SHOWMAX being gone. And I was shocked. I was like, hey, Shkonje, they have it in Nigeria as well. They've got lots of productions in Nigeria.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or positions of this podcast, its hosts, producers, sponsors, or affiliates. Our podcast serves as a platform for open dialogue and diverse perspectives. Any statements made by guests are their individual responsibility and should not be interpreted as an endorsement or official stance of the show.
Brick by brick, Entrepreneur's Guide to Property Wealth, exclusive bookstores nationwide, or just DM me. Number 2, Wednesday evenings, we've got webinars discussing property investments, building a movement over there every Wednesday evening for free, mahala. Click the link in the description and join our Wednesday evening webinars at 8 p.m. And then Saturdays, we've got show days for our vacant land that is available for you to invest in, starting from 200,000 rands. You can build yourself a nice 3, 4, 5 bedroom, totally up to you, double story, double garage, triple garage, swimming pool, something nice in the north of Johannesburg. For more information, click the link in the description. It'll take you, or you can email to soniamokheseng in case you're interested in understanding more about the opportunities that we have through our partnership with Ekasi Noble Property Development. It's another Monday and the authorities here.
Yebo. Janko. No, I'm good. I was just catching up on the Faima Hassan, interview.
Oh, she's brilliant. She's brilliant.
Yeah. You actually had 2 ladies on. I didn't get to see the other one, but she looks very familiar. Was she not a hockey player or something?
You mean Hassan?
No, the one that the week before.
Oh, the week before we had
on Wednesday, actually.
She's a sports scientist. Yeah, she's a sports scientist. She's also a model.
She's
also a model. She was sharing about her journey and some of the things that she's been doing. A really wonderful sister. Her name is Shanice. Yeah.
Oh,
that was a lovely episode. I enjoyed
yes.
And then I also enjoyed Ulona, because she had a speech that went viral a couple of weeks ago when she was addressing the president in parliament.
The Sonia reply. Oh, the Sonia, yes, debate speech.
Yeah, because now she's member of parliament.
Yes.
She shared some interesting insights,
Yeah, no, I watched the interview. I was keenly watching the interview. In fact, I was very excited to see it because I don't think I've seen her since the Fees Must Fall marches. That was, 11 years ago now.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah.
And then she went also, she went on to discuss some of the things that they've achieved with Fees Must Fall. And one of the ones that I remember, which is I think the main one, is they were able to achieve the NEFSA's loan being turned into a grant.
Yes, I remember.
It's high up there in one of their achievements. But then we also spoke about a lot of the students that were arrested during that time. And she shared a lot of things, man. She's a really bright, smart young sister.
No, thank
you. It was
you.
beautiful to hear from a young person.
Yeah,
because when she talks young people's issues, she's a young person herself. And it's nice that finally we're starting to have more young people in parliament.
Yeah, no, it's nice that we're having more young people in parliament. It's just a pity that they get sidelined within the party themselves. Or especially within the ANC, because she was mentioning about herself being the youngest member of parliament, and the fact that the young members of parliament need to really, lobby harder within the ANC, which is for me problematic. I think that the ANC's crisis of renewal comes from the fact that they will not get rid of the old, or I guess remove the dead weight. This week is a sad week for a lot of, ANC comrades. The news of the passing of UDF stalwart Mosiua Lekota. And for me, it was a chance to reflect on, especially the latter part of his legacy within the ANC, his departure from the ANC in the midst of the recalling of President Thabo Mbeki at that point in time, his establishing of COPE, the failure of COPE through internal power struggles, him wresting power from former Gauteng Premier Mbazi Mashilowa as well. And then after expelling Mbazi Mashilowa from COPE, his leadership of the party through its decline after it initially debuted, with a very high support base in its first election. And its fortunes, which have dwindled since. I mean, there's even the leader of SARA, who was the former chief whip of the MK party before she left parliament last month, Miss Colleen Makubele, who's got her start in leadership as the Speaker of Council in the city of Johannesburg under COPE initially as well. So he has had an impact not only on the ANC itself through his work within the party, subsequent to his work during apartheid with UDF, but beyond that, COPE really made a dent on, the image of the ANC. I think that was the first levee to break. That was the first crack in the dam. They lost significant amount of support when COPE was launched as a party, but they recovered that. And then COPE's hopes dwindled. But the most important contribution I think he made was when he was speaking in Parliament. And thanks to the EFF and Julius Malema donating more time for him to speak, he spoke about his arrest with our current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, and how he felt betrayed. And, with his passing, it left me with mixed feelings, and it's something that was reinforced now watching the Faima Hassan interview, because the damage that COPE did to the ANC is something that, the country has never recovered from, and that we're not recovering from now. And we've seen that with the fortunes of the ANC, that there has never been space for debate and discourse within the ANC. Conflict resolution has always turned to violence, whether it's violence through rhetoric, smear campaigns, or even assassinations. We even have a political killings task team now because of the violence within the ANC. And that violence consumed the party and consumed the people within the party itself. And they never resolved their conflicts. And for me, the bitter taste in my mouth is that the ANC has to bury Mosiua Lekota. And yet they were not on speaking terms. It's an indictment on the liberation movement as a whole. That it's been completely corrupted, completely co-opted. And it's so funny that Faima Hassan was saying words which were echoing my words not too long ago when we were speaking about the build-up to the 2024 election results announcement and my feelings about that, and what the loss of power by the ANC actually meant. For people whose hopes were pinned on the party actually succeeding and staying true to its liberation ideals. And it's been a slow burn. That loss has come in bits and pieces. They lost credibility. They lost rapport. They lost good standing. They lost dignity, And with each fiber of the body being chipped away, parts of us got chipped away because those liberation ideals were a representation of the desires of the people themselves. And what it brought me to is an actual reflection on what is the legacy of the youth of 76. You know, a tree by its fruit. And the fruit of the youth of 76 is all in parliament. Right now, the youth of 76 are the people that are in parliament. Now tell me, when you look at the pictures of what happened during 76, and then you look at the current unemployment that we have, the current illiteracy amongst the youth with, a significant amount of young people under the age of 15 unable to read for meaning, more than those that can. You know what I mean? The majority of them cannot read for meaning. What were the youth of 76 dying for? Does it ever come into mind right now when they think about those memories, when they relive the smell of tear gas, when they hear gunfire, when they feel stones in their hands and they think these used to be weapons, now it's just proof that, potential, can turn to dirt. Wasted potential turns to dirt. And all we have is dirt, to talk about when we talk about the ANC. We talk about their files, their scandals, their corruption. There's nothing to be proud of, and therefore it becomes incumbent upon the youth of the ANC to defend the indefensible, and to now compete amongst one another to say who can be the best defender of our shameful legacy. If you defend our shameful legacy well enough, maybe we can propel you to closer proximity to power so that you can be our defender when the youth, decide that it's time to off with our heads. It just said to me that I think the only thing that we can ask of the youth, especially the young people within the ANC, is that they need to desist from campaigning for the ANC, like right now. They need to let the old people fall on their sword. Still Ramaphosa said that in an NEC meeting, that, if there was any impropriety on his part, he would fall on his sword. Well, I mean, is there any more impropriety than losing power as a liberation movement that is supposed to hold on to power to liberate people? To fail in your, foundational goal so embarrassingly, that you become the laughingstock of the world, to lose all moral authority, that even a stalwart like Nelson Mandela gets ridiculed, as a terrorist by our enemies, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can say to condemn it. Our president would have just taken, I guess, it's his first trip, right, of 2026 to the United States.
Yeah.
It's his second trip to the United States of 2026, and I think his first trip since his last visit for the ambush and berating that he got from Trump. And this time he's going there for Jesse Jackson's funeral.
The people of South Africa are with you today as you lay to rest a great man, and as you celebrate a remarkable life that altered the moral direction of a nation and inspired the conscience of the world.
And this time he's going there for Jesse Jackson's funeral. That's how far the ANC has fallen from grace. That the president of the ANC needs to prioritize burying Jesse Jackson before he can give a state funeral to an ANC stalwart who has departed. So they're betraying one another. We are supposed to defend that. If you are a young person within the ANC, you are seeing how they are treating each other as elders. You know, how they're disregarding their struggle credentials and their shared history in the trenches, fighting for the liberation that, you know, he will never get to see. He will never get to say to his grandchildren, at least I delivered liberation for you, you know. And that's all she wrote. You know, I've seen the way in which they're trying to memorialize him, but that's how far the ANC has fallen. You know, you can't even memorialize its stalwarts anymore, you know, because they die as fat cats. You know what I mean? And then you have to think, how did they become fat cats? You know? When you look at the old pictures, you're like, oh, these people were so small, so scrawny, so hungry, you know, and now they are unrecognizable. You know, you cannot say that these are the same people. You know what I mean? Sometimes pop-ups would say, no, there's no way. Ukwizi bega nje. And then you look at old greasy pictures, you're like, what? You know what I mean? Yeah, I think they ate our liberation. That is the weight that's on them. You know, they ate it. They ate it. Baite. It's good, it's nice. You know? So we don't have anything to remember them by. You know, there's nothing tangible that they've left behind because all we have is discontentment.
Don't you think there are a lot of positive things that they did achieve, though?
You know, for me, it's when we understand the truth of how they achieved those things. We know that those things were achieved by the corporations that decided that we need to have democracy. Our country is still run by those same corporations. It's still the fascist state that it was under the National Party and under the coalitions that preceded it since 1924. So, no. I cannot give them that credit. I cannot, because...
You don't acknowledge the evolution of South Africa from back then, what it was, to what it is now?
It is now is the creation of big business. I'll tell you why I say this. Every time the government, the ANC, the powers that are supposed to be, every time they promise something, they always have a begging bowl out to big business to help them complete their mission. We need big business. We need big business. We need big business. Big business is their God because they are praying to big business every single time. So how can we say the ANC liberated when they're praying to big business to this day? When the negotiations were held on properties owned by big business, when the machinations of who will become leader were controlled by big business, when the conferences are owned by big business. You're seeing the Madlanga Commission right now. The state of the nation is that big business is in charge of each and every single dysfunction, from lack of water. We are a water scarce nation. People need to not forget that. We're a water scarce nation. We're not like Dubai, which needs to produce 4,000 times the water that it has in rainfall. You know what I mean? I think we're at like 500 times, 468 times the water that we produce in rainfall. So we need to produce almost 5 times as much water than rains down on our soil, you know, for all our needs. As a water scarce nation, you know, it's really sad that, you know, the government can tell you that it's a maintenance problem. It can never be a maintenance problem in a water scarce nation. A water scarce nation should always be striving, innovating to ensure that water scarcity does not, you know, incite a revolution. If people are without water, they will burn this country down. and there'll be no water to put out the fires. You know what I mean? So how can they play with our safety like that? How can they incite a revolution? Because a revolution burns everybody. Everybody. Especially the poor. Those without the high security fences, those without guns protecting them. They're the ones that die like flies. You know? How can they do that to us? You know? Even there's no condemnation of their behavior at SONA. You know what I mean? None whatsoever. They don't condemn themselves. They don't look at the living situations that we have. Not one of them took up my challenge to drive back to Johannesburg, where they live, from Cape Town. Not one of them did that. Couldn't risk it. I mean, why would they risk their lives? My goodness. There's still so much eating to do. You know, there's too much eating. You know what I mean? They need to catch up to their elders, those that should be advisors. But how can you call in those elders that ate the liberation to advise you? You're asking them to speak with their mouths full. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm disappointed in a lot. We're at war. We're at war. We've been at war for over a year. You know, for me, I took this war personally. I've been feeling it personally because I understood what this war actually meant, what this escalations are going to manifest in. We're speaking about the imminent strikes in Iran happening last March. They're happening this March. You know, I was speaking earlier to someone, and I was telling them that, you know, I remember that the war in Iraq, right? The siege of Babylon. You know, in the story of Cyrus in the Bible, the Persian king who was abandoned and was supposed to be killed. And then he found a farmer who fathered him, raised him up to become a warrior, and he seized many lands and took Babylon and reformed Babylon, right? Babylon is Iraq. That's Baghdad. On the 20th of March, my birthday. Was it 2003? I was 13, yes. That's when they seized Baghdad. The 20th of March is coming up again. This time, the 20th of March is Eid. Eid, as well as 21 days from the 28th of February. 28th of February is the day that they went back to Persia, where Cyrus is from, right? And they bombed some temples, you know, they bombed some archaeology. And at the beginning of the year, we spoke about how this battle that's happening right now in the Middle East can be read about in the book of Revelations in the Bible. All of this is biblical. All of this is spiritual, you know. So my spirit is down, like right now, because I feel drained by seeing it actually happen and manifest, seeing the prophecies actually manifest, and seeing the end of the world as we know it actually happening, you know. And it doesn't need to drag the entire world into it for it to manifest. What matters is that the entire world feels this pain. No matter where you are in the world, no matter where you, no matter where you run, you know, you can't hide from it. And the Ayatollah, who was martyred, did not run, did not hide. He stayed above ground. Could have gone into a bunker. But he knew that him preserving his own life will not change the eventuality, will not change the prophecy.
But they did try to convince him, he refused. He didn't want to go to the bunker.
He's the spiritual leader. He cannot be convinced. It's conviction, faith, knowledge of God, not blind belief. You know, blind belief looks for solutions, looks for hope, looks for miracles. Faith has knowledge. It has certainty. And he knew his fate was certain. He knew his fate was sealed. He was exiled, you know, in the 60s, before the Shah fell. He returned when Mossadegh rose to power. The socialist revolution turned into, you know, a military and spiritual revolution with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard taking power. And by the time the Ayatollah took power, the world that he lived in or he was raised in had changed significantly. The world that he was raised in or lived in had Palestine as one country and not partitioned like it was after World War II. And even when it was partitioned, Iran resisted partitioning it and the two-state solution. And they said it should be one state, and that state should be Palestine, and all Arabs and Jews should be able to live happily within a united Palestine. And that was his belief. Now we're hearing about a greater Israel. The Greater Israel project is in opposition to the Greater Palestine project, from the Nile to the Euphrates River. And that is the insignia on the flag. The Euphrates River at the top in Iraq, the Nile River at the bottom in Egypt, the Star of David in the middle, the Red Shield, the Rothschild, the Khazars, you know. And yeah, they've really rained hell on all earth. They've rained hell on all earth. There isn't a part of the world that isn't depressed right now, feeling helpless, feeling hopeless. You know, the depravity of their tactics, their ways. You know what I mean? Epstein is a tactic. He is a tool. He's an implement to inflict pain on our dignity, on our humanity, to dehumanize us and to defile our own morality. You know, it's pernicious. It's a pernicious attack. You know.
So what does pernicious mean?
It's like it's insidious, but you won't see it. You know what I mean? But you will feel its effects massively. You know what I mean? It will become self-evident after some reflection. The insidious nature in which they've attacked our dignity and our humanity is that...
Okay, nasengikhuluma iqiniso ne-insidious naye angazi.
Bona, it's like
ngicela ukuthi ungisolvelele ungishawe ngilahlela wes ku dictionary. So ngicela uyisimplify mfethu ngizifundele abantu education.
Yeah, okay. Let me
Google it then.
Yeah, okay, let me just make
Sorry
sure.
for disturbing you.
No,
I just
problem.
want to understand. And I'm also asking on behalf of those who are like me.
So
sometimes when I'm pretending to ask guys,
pernicious,
there's no such a thing as a stupid question. Just ask to understand the show.
I'll search pernicious, the dictionary definition. You can search insidious.
Okay.
So pernicious, right, since I've searched it, is having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual or subtle way. Yeah, which is what I said. Just that.
Insidious refers to something unpleasant, dangerous, or harmful that develops gradually, subtle, and often unnoticed before causing significant damage. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Scheiß ngam na NOTA.
I guess.
Ama-synonyms ne. Udlala ngawo. Nangiza ngilahlela.
No, bengifundi thesaurus. Yabona abanye bebafundi dictionary ngathi no. It's England thesaurus.
The authority.
Yabona.
Sure.
Yeah.
You see, that's the thing. On Tuesdays, he dumbs it down. Nakahleli nani speech. Nakafika la ushaya isinye isilungu esiphezulu. Ngathi wenza ngamabomu uthi la ngikhuluma ne-audience esona.
No, bayeza nabo. Ngisabafaka isigela. No.
Sifiso vele nizwakala nizongena esigela. UNOTA azonifaka. UNOTA mara unifaka isigela every Tuesday. Ninenhlanhla guys, yazi. Mina actually yimi enenhlanhla. Ngikeleza every Monday.
Every Monday. No, mele sifake no karas la. Intwana yakho.
Sure.
Uyibonile intwana yakho.
Akibone emaphepheni, sure.
Ayibonanga ku show yayo.
Oh, it's got a new show.
On Podcast and Chill.
Charisma Fashion.
How?
You lie.
Well, I said, the
I don't know.
Podcast and Chill is the DJ Slew alumnus.
That's dope. That's dope, my man.
Podcast
That's
and Chill
beautiful.
is UJ. Yeah, no. DJ Spoo is UJ. Podcast and Chill is the students of UJ, the graduates. Just like UJ is UJ and DJ Spoo is a graduate.
from UJ, sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, no.
Congratulations, that's beautiful.
Yeah. No,
that's
Pela, we know him from the DJ Spoo breakfast show.
Yeah.
Pela, we would have never known that guy if it wasn't for the DJ Spoo breakfast show. Pela, DJ Spoo breakfast show put every and anybody. I'm a Vanda.
I would put everyone
People who
on.
never deserved to be on broadcasting according to the rules of broadcasting. Like, ngemthetho ye broadcasting.
Yeah. Abosoli visi.
Never. You know what I mean? But it's nice to see that, when you imagine them on radio, because it's the theater of the mind, you imagine like Amata Sekasi, maybe Dusty or whatever. No, but they're the clean, prim and proper, the smooth lawyer type.
Yeah, clean guys. Yeah.
Okay, so
fashion
now,
on point.
Cream. You know what I mean? Indaba isilungu asivuk.
So Mara, you know what they say. I mean,
yeah.
But isilungu nasivuka udlala nonsense. Ibhola, na udlala ibhola. Nangabe wazi isilungu.
Exactly.
Ibhola like nonsense.
Mawaza my interview. You know what I mean? Mawaza my interview. IT scalvo. Me coach. You know what I mean? But no, one guy who's English.
Don't lose your train of thought.
I'm still there.
Sure.
One guy whose English was quite pernicious is Bongani Kumalu.
Yeah, I remember it.
Like, hey, I'm saying it's no mangali. Hey,
yeah, no Kaiser Junior.
You understand what I'm saying?
Let's top.
Yeah, Marukeza Junior, Tamalaki, Begadali States. You know what I mean? So obviously, Mara Bongani Kumalu. You didn't expect that. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of fridge in him. So the pernicious way in which this attack is happening on our dignity, right, is that everything that we love and enjoy is a poison, is against us. I was watching some YouTuber. I forgot the name. I got a real name, but it's what you call. The channel is called Citizen Concerned, but I forgot her name.
I know the lady with the cheese cup, no?
Yes, exactly. So,
dope YouTube.
So,
beware of the comrades.
Yes, beware of the beware of the comrades, and don't forget, beware of the comrades. So, with that said, she was speaking about these schools, school uniform, girls on TikTok, them sexualizing kids and everything else. And I thought to myself that this content that the algorithm has pushed to sexualize kids, right, has poisoned the minds of people to such an extent that they cannot disassociate that type of content with just seeing kids in school uniform. And the type of content that we've seen of kids in school uniform as well, you know what I mean, makes us change the way in which we see kids, like we see children in general, like the youth. And when we have hopes for this youth of South Africa in future, right, we have an image of who they are right now. And our hopes are dashed because we don't have faith in them. You know what I mean? We believe the youth are the future, right? But we don't know if it's possible that they could emerge from where they are right now and build, a future worth admiring. It's just sad. You know what I mean? We don't even have faith in the young people to change things. So that's why for me, even watching Friday's episode, I could hear the passion, I could hear the good words, the articulation and everything else. But at the same time, I couldn't get rid of the image of those protests. You know what I mean? I participated in some of those protests. I was there for a couple of days at Wits, and how little they've yielded on the campus itself. Because the image, right, that they had, that Adam Habib had of those black savage kids who now had to make him sit on the floor, you know what I mean, to plead to them to not disrupt the work of his funders and his sponsors and his benefactors and everybody else that benefits from Wits University and the intellectual capital it creates that does not benefit the majority of the population or the youth of this country in particular. And then you look at the lecturer that was just fired for her comments about black students. 11 years later, the same way they saw black students when they were protesting in 2015, and then the other more affluent students said, oh, they're disrupting our classes, is the same way they see them to this day. How can you expect any change? The institutional memory is still there. You can't expect any change. So Adam Habib is gone. The institutional memory is still the same. Mandela is gone. Mbeki is gone. Motlanthe is gone. Zuma is gone. The institutional memory remains the same, and that's why it's manifesting in the second Ramaphosa administration.
Beginning of the year, time for brand new hustles, and it is time for you to hustle, especially those traders. You are probably looking for the right platform to trade with, and a lot of people do know that we're in that digital era. People are learning to trade, people are making money online. Are you going to join them? Are you going to get into a reputable platform? While digital financial instruments remain the most unpredictable and risky assets for a lot of people all over the world, Pocket Broker is among the first platforms to offer BTF ETF trading. For those that trade, understand what I'm talking about. BTF and ETF trading, and with up to 92% profitability, more crypto assets will soon be available on the platform, providing the best trading conditions. There's also 130 plus assets available. You can profit from currency pairs, indices, stocks, and cryptocurrencies. Assets are available 24/7, allowing you to trade at any time. You can also deposit with crypto or withdraw, and Pocket Broker offers convenience and commission-free withdrawals. The platform also has got a referral program, Pocket Friends. That's what it's called. If you invite a friend and then they top their account and start trading, both of you and your friend will receive bonuses. For example, if your friend deposits $50, then they receive an additional $50 as a bonus. And when you get a bonus of up to $10 credited to your balance. All you need to do is create a referral link. The process of creating the link on the platform should be shown. You will see it over there, and share it with your friends and receive some rewards. All the best. Time for new hustles. Let's make this money and trade with Pocket Broker.
And for me, we're seeing that institutional memory has one reflex: defend the leadership at all costs, even if it costs the country. My challenge for these people is to say that please be lucky, please be very fortunate, please be very good to people. I don't know if you know the squatter camp in Vacant Stands.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I still have my Wi-Fi thing, my Wi-Fi dongle, my little dongle that I use for Wi-Fi. because it fell out of my pocket. And someone who lives at the squatter camps in Vacant Stands picked it up. And I was listening to something. So I couldn't even hear him screaming for me. Hey. He came and tapped me on the shoulder, said, hey, you dropped your dongle. You're not going to have Wi-Fi. Your thing is just imagine that. In South Africa, in a squatter camp. Now, that should not be a shock to the system. That should be the country that we live in. You know what I mean? Our streets should be paved with gold. Right? Should they not?
They should.
If beneath our soil is paved with gold and we've extracted that gold, it should be on our streets, right? Except we've got potholes in our street. We've got craters in our street. We've had a meteor shower at night. It wasn't rain. It was meteorites. And you get out of your house after the rains and you need a new tire. You know what I mean? So that crater, that hole that has been left behind by the missing dignity cannot be filled with words, with rhetoric, with high hopes, with dreams. When the basics are looking at you right in the face. What does it take for the ANC, who are in charge in many, many government departments, to say top management and whoever else, each and every single person needs to hire 3 young people, at least for a period of 1 year. 3 young people that need to work in your team. The top management earn a lot, ridiculous amounts of money. None of them is earning less than 1.5 million rand a year. None of them need more than 20,000 rand a month to live comfortably in South Africa. You don't need more than 20,000 rand a month to live comfortably in South Africa. I'm not saying live luxuriously. I'm not saying live expansively. 20,000 rand a month is enough. If 30% of that is your housing costs, right, as a single individual, right, then how much is that in terms of rent? 6,000 rand. 6,000 rand, you can get yourself a studio, a decent place to stay. For 6,000 rand, you can get yourself a decent place to stay. And that's all you should need if you're in public service. That's all you should need, a decent place to stay for public service, right? So why is it that these exorbitant salaries are going into ensuring that these people can compete with those hired in the private sector, instead of going into ensuring that these people can then be an implement that is used to hire young people? Why is the burden put upon small businesses which have an over 90% failure rate? Why is the trust, the faith being put in something we have the knowledge is risky? We have the knowledge. We know that business is risky. So why is business being made to pick up the slack where government has failed? Again, why is that being thrown back into small businesses' hands? Because small business is doing what it can. And small business is not a hiring tool. It's not a hiring implement. The way in which to run a small business sustainably and profitably is to keep the costs at a minimum, to hire when necessary, when profitable, when it will make a meaningful marginal difference in your turnover and your productivity. So the measure by which businesses use as a bar to say we are now ready to hire is so high. It's too high to be relied upon, which makes any suggestion that small business should be hiring the youth stupid. No person that has any education, matric or lower, standard 8, grade 10, no person that has that level of education should not be able to understand the basics of that, because you learn business in school, you learn business management, you learn business sciences, and you know these things. So these things are taught to you about, how do we run a dry cleaner? How do we do the books for a dry cleaner? What type of ledgers? Who are we hiring in the dry cleaner? Those things are taught to you in basics of accountancy, in school. In basics of economics, microeconomics, the basics, those things are taught to you. So for you to have all the resources in the world, how much is a parliamentary salary? You've got researchers, all of these people, the suggestions that are being made, right, only show that there's one doctrine: protect the leadership at all costs, because there's no way they don't know that that is a ridiculous suggestion to make, that small business picks up the slack where government has been failing to hire young people. There's no way they don't know that. The clinics are not hiring young nurses or young people. You know what I mean? Young doctors are not getting a chance in public hospitals. Young doctors. So are you telling me that doctors need to open private practices to hire young doctors now? That's going to stop doctors from not being hired. Everyone's got a little private practice and everyone just hires one doctor, and then there's a multiplier effect, and then magic, and then abracadabra, and then all of a sudden we've got full employment. No, that's never going to happen. The state needs to lead. The state needs to lead, and the state is incapacitated because the state does not want to lead. It wants to lead us to self-destruction. That is what's happening. And the youth, especially the youth within the ANC, are part and parcel of that entire program, because what are they being made to do? They're being made to kill one another. It's evidenced. Sindiso Makatwa was not an old person. He was a potential future leader of the ANC. The young future leaders have been killed since before liberation. That is, anyone that has the potential to lead a renewal of the ANC or the liberation movement or the SSEP gets taken out. They did it to Chris Hani. There's been many Chris Hanis since. Many Chris Hanis since. The list is endless of them. Our graveyards are littered with them. You understand? And those who are left behind feel a responsibility to honor them, but not a guilt of being survivors. We are here today because we've got chronic survivor's guilt. We cannot live comfortably. We cannot work comfortably. We've got the knowledge, you've got the skills, you've got the most in-demand qualification that there is in South Africa. Engineering, electrical. It's impossible for someone with your qualifications to be unemployed. It's impossible in South Africa. Like statistically, you cannot go more than 3 years without employment if you were to use your qualification. But you've got survivor's guilt because your qualification is not helping you take amachitekasi out of that mentality that keeps them stuck there and away from their dreams. You've got that guilt. It lives with you each and every single day. And that's why you have to dedicate your time. You have to build platforms. It's tough to build a platform. It's tough. Ask SHOWMAX. They are struggling. They are closing shop. You understand what I'm saying? They sold people hopes and dreams of being a distribution platform, of streaming, of revolutionizing each and every single thing. And those people that bought into that hope and dream and said, we're putting our pensions in that. Our mothers also put their pensions in that. I won't lie, they invested in Putumanachi shares and all those types of things, but they pulled out, fortunately, before the fall that's coming now, because they've got children that can read financials and understand, this thing, you've got shares in this thing, your pension fund is invested in this thing, this company is not looking good. Tell them to either change or remove or find another company to invest your money in. You know what I mean? Some of us were safe. But there are those whose pensions are derived from their salaries that work inside those companies. And when they say that the company that you've been working on, the thing that you've been trying to build, the thing that you've dedicated all your time and your expertise to is crumbling down because of regulatory failures on the part of your government, on the part of the judiciary, on the part of big business that controls everything. The only reason SHOWMAX has to close, the only reason DSTV has to offload lots of stuff is because we could not protect our laws in this country. The Competition Commission folded. They allowed the sale of MultiChoice. They allowed the satellite monopoly, which was created with state money, created off the back of the SABC, which was only mandated in 1986 under a state of emergency with sanctions being declared by the United States against South Africa, to create a private broadcasting company that could then be used after South Africa was given democracy. And was supposed to be a continental behemoth. It became a continental behemoth. DSTV is everywhere. It's one of the prides of Africa. You know that we've got a company that's got tentacles all over the continent. You know, almost everywhere. That has bolstered industries, especially in broadcasting, the film industry, all over the continent. How many years of work is that? You know, that's 40 years. 1986 is 2026. You know, just to sell it off like that. Sell it off like that, like it's nothing. For political expediency, for certain people to climb up the ladder, to have more power over us, to be able to buy the ANC, to be able to buy the media, to paint propaganda and false narratives and all of that stuff. Those are the pensions that are being squandered for all of those little games that they're playing amongst themselves. The people that are working there in those companies that now need to think, okay, I might get retrenched. I did not do what Abo DJ Spoo were doing when we were thinking, Abo DJ Spoo, Nabo, Sebang Yanaguma YouTube, they're becoming YouTubers and whatnot. Because they could see the writing on the wall. They could see that these institutions that we are giving our lives to can betray us at any point in time. And then what's going to happen to our kids? Because our kids won't have important parents anymore. Because your parent was important when they're working at SHOWMAX. Now your parent is no longer working at SHOWMAX because SHOWMAX doesn't exist. Now your parent is no longer important. Now you as a child are nothing. That's why your parent was working at such a company. That's why your parent was not picking up at school and going to sports matches and doing each and every single thing because they need to work at this company so you can say that, yes, my mother works at SHOWMAX. I'm important. I've got dignity, something. It was stolen from you. A policy failure by the ANC. They voted for it in parliament. They did nothing. They did nothing. They allowed it to happen. Our communications minister said, okay, Vodacom, you get whatever you want. DSTV, you get whatever you want. No problem. No problemo. Please just ensure that this does not lead to a calamity with jobs. Give us a guarantee that for the first 3 years, you'll have hiring freezes. No. That's not a guarantee that for the first 3 years, you'll have a hiring freeze. No. I mean, you'll have a firing freeze. You won't retrench any workers. Sorry, I said a hiring freeze. No. That means in 3 years, you'll have a hiring freeze. Or in fact, you'll start a hiring freeze right now. And in 3 years, you'll have a firing spree. You're firing everybody. Fired. The company is closing. We're restructuring. We're moving everybody to Canal Plus streaming because that's already got the Premier League, right? It's already got the Champions League, right? It's already got the Formula One, right? So what else is there? You don't even watch PSL games. You only watch the KZ Chiefs games on PSL. So why don't we just allow you to watch your PSL games on SABC? SABC just play Kaizer Chiefs, just play Sundowns and play Orlando Pirates games. And people will be satisfied. You know what I mean? That's the budget that the SABC has, I guess. You know what I mean? As a barrier of entry to playing in the big leagues of being live sports broadcasters. They're blaming piracy now. Piracy needs serious bandwidth. Serious data. If you're going to pirate a Champions League game, it's not mal. Do it right now with a Mobicel, no data. Can't do that. So the person that's pirating the game is paying to pirate the game. So they're paying to see the game. They're paying somebody. And who are they paying to see the game? The people that are charging the highest levy possible for data on the African continent. The service providers. The internet service providers are making their costs so exorbitant. They are competing with the costs of the content that is being given to us on DSTV. How much is Cell C 400 gigs or maybe uncapped Wi-Fi, 1,300 Rand a month? How much is DSTV? 1,200 Rand a month. It's the same thing. DSTV is content. They have to shoot, they have to produce it. This one just allows you to go on to content. It's the same price. That's how much you're paying for just being able to access the content. And now with streaming, you are able to access this content. And now there's no access anymore. So when I said, Das Buddha, this thing of celebrating Shaka Ilembe and all these series that they're promoting right now is foolhardy. Because where we need to be focusing is changing the minds of especially the audience and the producers of these films to go to cinema. Because we've seen how the people have saved us in music. We've seen how Chisanyamas were our saving grace. Because we could go to a Chisanyama in every location, in every corner of South Africa, and our people were able to say, thank you for giving us good music. And pay to see us. And make us people. Even though the institutions that we're working for were claiming to make us people, they never paid us directly. They paid us in kind. They said, we're giving you exposure. You've got access to 3 million listeners a week, 4 million listeners, 5 million listeners, 6 million listeners. We might not be able to pay you for speaking to these listeners, but we'll pay you to have access to other opportunities where you can make the money. Where were those opportunities coming from? The listening public. That would now hear you on the radio saying, I'm going to Gooby Goop. And they'd be there. And they'd say, Sbuda, they are not paying you enough there on that radio station, but thank you. Here's your money for the music that you're giving us, for playing for us. You know what I mean? We've lived on tips. The entire industry has been living off tips. And that tip I was giving to the film industry to say, listen, trust the public. Forget these institutions. These institutions will betray you. They will use your intellectual property. They'll own your intellectual property and they'll dump you. They'll dump you at earliest convenience, at soonest convenience. The earliest convenience, they've dumped them all, you know. And I think they're shocked. You know, when I saw the announcement, I expected like actors to go onto TikTok and start crying about how they're going to be losing opportunities, but they're so shocked because they face so many losses. The institutions have betrayed them so many times that they're like, hey, let me just keep quiet because maybe there might be some miracle and I might be blocking my blessing by speaking about how affected I am by this thing. But what are you doing? You're betraying the public, who you need to take into your confidence, who you need to say, hey, if you want me to be able to continue doing this work, if you want me to continue enriching your life, I'm going to need you to contribute to finding another means in which I can ply my trade. You know? So our cinemas are empty. Always. You know what I mean? Anytime you're going on a date, you don't even need to book the movie in advance. You know, you're going to choose whatever movie. In fact, it might be a good idea to pick an advance because they are all empty. You know, it's the worst thing. You go to watch a movie and now it's time to choose the movie and the corner doesn't know what to choose. You know what I mean? So you're like, okay, let's choose this one. And they're like, no, actually, let's move this one. Okay, no, let's watch all the trailers. You know, because they've got those screens now. You can watch the trailers in each and every single movie. And after watching the trailers, now the person is even more confused. Now they don't want to know. They don't want to decide which movie. Now it's your choice to decide which movie. Now you must be the one who's the driver at the end of the night when they're complaining that that movie was terrible. You know what I mean? So we don't have any date nights with South African movies. You know what I mean? It's not an event. So we cannot support our actors. We cannot support our film industry. We cannot support the independent film industry as a whole, completely, as the public that love this content, who need this content, who need to see a reflection of our lives being played out in theater so that we can see that there's meaning to our lives. Or we can add more meaning to our lives that we didn't see because we didn't see it from that perspective or that framing. You know, film has done a lot for me. You know what I mean? The English that you're busy talking about. It comes from watching movies. You know what I mean? And film. You know what I mean? It comes from watching Mzinwezi Nsizwa. Chow, as far as I'm concerned, that made you want to read. I want to be that as far as I'm concerned. You see how important he is with his as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't have more money than any of them, but as far as I'm concerned. You understand? When he speaks, everyone listens. I want that. Those are the things that we could imagine. But now we can't imagine those things anymore because there's no place for them to live. The youth of today don't know what we were watching on TV back in the days when it was only terrestrial. You know what I mean? Now that there's online, there's so many content creators, you don't know what to watch. You don't know what to watch on which day. You're happy that, hey, at least umek you schedule. You know that, okay, on this day I'll get this, on this day I'll get this. They'll shoot, however many content, you'll never know when to catch it. You'll never know when to choose, but there's so much of it as well. It's a whole entire world all together. There's people you don't even know, you're meeting them. When you check them on YouTube, it's like, 200,000 subscribers. You're shocked. You're like, I just met this guy. I had no idea about his whole existence, but there's a whole entire community that lives for his content. People are sold that dream by SHOWMAX, and it will never materialize. So all of these things are reasons for us to be down, to be sad, to feel like this spiritual war is really taking its toll on us, because the only desire that the people that bought DSTV had was to own our voices, to own our culture, to colonize our traditions, our expression. They started by stopping us from watching Russia Today at the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022. Now they're stopping images of Gaza, or stopping the channels that show images of Gaza. Now there'll be even more control. Now they'll be stopping us from showing images of ourselves to our children. They're going to feed us with French content. I went to the Canal Plus website. I needed to translate it into English. Abasbai. They don't even have it automatically on English. Like, my phone only looks at English content. It should, at least when I go to canalplus.com, at least show in English. No. In French. It's French. I need to learn French now. Bonjour. You know what I mean? Socialise. So now that, the reality is starting to sink in for a lot of people, and the effects are starting to be felt, I'm also seeing what we've actually lost, because this media behemoth that was DSTV across the continent, right, has done a lot of work outside of South Africa as well. I have a friend of mine, Famous Bob. He's an artist from Nigeria. He's currently in South Africa, busy recording an album. So he's in the studio here. And he was crying about SHOWMAX being gone. And I was shocked. I was like, they have it in Nigeria as well. They've got lots of productions in Nigeria. So that whole entire Nollywood industry that they bought and they took over and they put it on Africa Magic and it brought an audience and everything else, all of that is lost to the French. Gone. That black business that was being built, that black content, black owned, for us, by us content, our Nollywood, it's been sold to the French a la carte. You know what I mean? They can choose which one they're eating now. Oh, no, we'll eat a little bit of this. We'll eat a little bit of this. Okay, the rest we're throwing away. They're dumping our culture, our humanity as a people. And that is the spiritual warfare that we have. I was speaking about how they're hitting us with this stochastic terrorism so hard so that we feel hopeless. You know what I mean? Each and every one of us as individuals feels hopeless, and we feel collectively hopeless. So that even as a collective, we don't think that we can do anything, even if we come together. Even if we come together, all of us, and say, no more. Down with these imperialists. Let's take back our content. There is no appetite. You know what I mean? People are out for the count. They don't want to put up a fight anymore. They've been beaten down too many times. They've been betrayed. The cognitive dissonance has gone to endemic levels. And yeah, man, I think that is my main reflection on, I guess, the past week. It's been really difficult to actually find some, green shoots, or to find some sort of hope in what's been happening. So, let me look here. Sorry, I need to go back to where I put my notes. Yeah. So the big news story within the ANC is not just their failures, but it's the political battle within the ANC. Siyavumelana, 27.
PM 27. Why is there a battle?
I mean, obviously, he's denying that he's running. Whatever it is, it's part of a leadership battle. This whole entire debate that's happening. And there is no young person that's challenging or contesting it. There's no young person that's saying there's no way an old person is going to be running for president of the ANC. It needs to come from the youth.
Sorry. Sure.
You know what I mean? There's no ways. There's no ways. No ways. As for me, no ways. As for Milan.
Which young person can it be?
I mean, anybody. Just a young person.
Colin Malach.
Even him. Even him. There is no young person that is challenging the current leadership of the ANC. It took Fikile Mbalula to reprimand Gwede Mantashe for his comments about employment and unemployment and the lack of enthusiasm. I don't know if you saw, there's a video, Abraham Fisher. There was a cash in transit heist. It was as if the cash van had Betway slips inside it. At least 1,000 people.
It's just as if it's got
I'm sorry. I'm serious. There was like 1,000 people. 1,000 people waiting for a cash van to be blown up and the heist guys to leave so that they can pick up whatever. No.
And banoknyanya nangabe lezi patrol chitha isikhathi. Done man.
Just imagine.
It's sad though.
Zinesikhathi.
It's sad, bro.
Zinesikhathi.
Poverty in the hood. Because they're not even scared of their lives. They're just waiting there for igibeng ukuthi iqeda so that they can pounce as well.
Imagine. They've perfected the bombs so much that they know exactly what type of bombs to make so that it doesn't do too much damage so that the public can help them as well. They can help them take the money. They can help them disperse. They can help them stop the gathering of evidence. They tamper with the evidence. Too many fingerprints. You can't tell who was who was the crowd, who were the assailants. You know what I mean? Fog in the area. But 1,000 people gathering to watch a car heist in the afternoon on a day that's rainy.
What did happen? What did it happen? Yeah, just Ramaphosa.
In the middle of a Steta Vigi.
Last week?
In the middle of a Steta Vigi. 1,000 people, Ramaphosa, waiting to, I'm sure someone put it on TikTok. There was a lady who stood up on her fence and said, look at this unemployment. Look at them. They're waiting for this van. Are you seeing it? Oh, Dala Nevavas J.
Yo, bashayele car have yo. I tap my chance. Yo.
You arrived after time.
But you arrive at what? Yo, don't you wish it was a gig?
Are you there?
Imagine.
It's sad though, eh?
That's the lack of dignity that we have. That's the lack of dignity. The lack of dignity is that people are not even disgusted by picking up money anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know if I told you the story of the time that my mother picked up 10 rand in Sandton City. Now we're walking there, I think by Vodacom. You see where the Vodacom store is on the ramp as you're going towards Mandela Square. After you pass the Apple store, by the ramp.
Yeah.
No, no.
Oh, no, ngada, yeah.
Yeah. As if you're going to Tasha's.
Yeah.
But there's like a Vodacom store and there's like a ramp, like a wheelchair ramp, and then
Yeah.
there's steps on this side.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I thought you were talking about the Vodacom store le la ngase Phonos.
No.
Ngiyabona le
Yeah, the
phezulu.
other small one.
No,
That
ngathi
small
Mandela
one.
Square.
Yeah,
ngiyabona.
exactly. That's
The
small.
opposite nelona ne yini konje le shipa yempahla. If yini konje.
I forgot. I don't know. I don't shop for clothes, man.
Man.
Angiwazi la manje.
Jona mangisazazi impahla.
Yeah.
How can I forget that store? I
But
used
it
to buy
used to be
there a
so
lot.
seen back in the day, around the
man.
corner, close to
Anyway,
there.
yeah.
But either way, so people were jumping around that 10 rand like, hey, like it was a snake. And my mother just took it and picked it up and said, yo, thank you, I'll pay for parking with this. And I was like, yeah, I know, my mom is G. But I was thinking about this, like, yo, people were very different back then. They wouldn't even pick up 10 rand. Now you can drive in a car throwing money. People will come and pick it up, jump out of a moving taxi, pick up the 50 rand, get back into the taxi while it's still moving. And you can condemn the actions of people who throw money at people. But at the same time, you need to look at how far down our people have been pushed for them to be beggars like that. You understand what I'm saying? For them to believe in miracles as the default, as the only thing that can, put food on the table. A jackpot. China. That's how far down we've been pushed down spiritually, morally. Our moral bar is really low. So it becomes even difficult to condemn the actions of our leaders. Because when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we're like, faced with the same choices that they are faced with right now, what would we do in that position? Because when you have nothing and you see that people that have nothing are discarded and you see those with everything leaving those with nothing behind, you think to yourself, it's self-preservation is the only way. You understand what I'm saying? Because the next man, if he were to win the jackpot, he's not going to look back for me. So why must I look back for anybody else? Why must I have any guilt? You know what I mean? Why must I be ashamed of being a survivor in an unfair, insidious system that makes us eat our own children? Because that's what happens when you spend your pension, right? Because your pension is supposed to look after you in your old age. But now, in your old age, your children have to look after you. So you are eating them. That's what's happening. When they're supposed to be building themselves up, you're chopping them down. You're making them pay for your mistakes, your choices, right? Those are your choices to gamble. But if you had no choice then who do we blame? How do they accept the situation of gambling? It's tearing apart every single nation where it's allowed. Every single country. There isn't a country that isn't complaining about gambling, especially in places with high unemployment. Because gambling is the only option there. It's the only option. I've listened to so many people explaining and saying, and asking me, okay, Chinyaswen, what do you suggest we do then? There's nothing. I can't come up with. Do you understand what I'm saying? So how can I condemn it? How can I? Yeah, I'm better than all of you because I chose not to gamble. I'm lucky. Someone gambled with me and I was the winner in that gamble. And now, as the winner, I must tell the other people who are busy trying their luck that no. How dare you try your luck here? I must wave my finger. No, I cannot wave my finger in condemnation because the system was put in place to make people like me poor forever. We spoke about how the Matanzimas were the first to open up casinos in our homelands. We've spoken about this. You know what I mean? So how is it that the same people that removed the Matanzimas, the ANC that removed the Mangopes, you understand what I'm saying? They removed all these people only to deliver the same governance to the entire country now. Not just 13% of the country in the homeland reservations. To the entire country. They expanded it to the rest of the 87% of the country. There's a homeland in your phone. There's a casino in your phone. Every single homeland you go to has got a hotel with a big casino inside. Etaung, Maungenara Etaung Inn, what's the first thing you see?
Casino.
Etaung. In the middle of nowhere. And you know, when you get out of Taung Inn, when you just get, like, you drive out, you realize that, damn, there's actually nothing in this town. Like, if people weren't stuck here in the casino, when they can smoke and drink and they can't tell what time of the day it is, what would they be doing? What would they be doing? Nothing. So the reason why you can't remember which shop it was that was there at Sandton City is because it's no longer there. It's Marco Polo now there.
No, it is there. Marco Polo is next door.
As you go up
It's
the
under the
escalators.
Fushini group, man. It's a fashion, men's fashion.
Yes.
What is
Markham.
No, not Markham, man. Like, it's men's fashion, but it's a local brand, but it sounds Italian.
Fabiani.
Fabiani.
Oh.
How can I forget Fabiani? Egunin. Young brother and Fabiani. Opposite
You understand?
Fabiani. Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Okay. Well, it's not even Galaxy Boy, but yeah, it's fine. South African.
No, Kalek boy nga bank.
Yeah. Okay.
Ngase
Oh,
Apple,
yes.
ngase iStore.
Oh, wait. X-Trainer used to be on X-Trend.
Yeah,
On that side.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the Galaxy
when you
Boy
go
is
down
there.
that passage as if you're going to Checkers.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I understand that. I get that. I see that. But the Marco Polo is right up there. It's right up there inside the mall. Now, the little mobile casino. The things that you only see Emma Randbeck, Taxi Rank and everything else. Now they're coming into the high-end malls. They're coming into the bars, slot machines. That's how pernicious this gambling addiction is. Slowly, bit by bit,
Brick by brick.
and then all of a sudden, all at once. And then it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You know, they were speaking about, hey, there's also new entrants in the cannabis industry. And for me, I saw what happened to New York City with the cannabis industry. Each and every single 5 meters,
Oh,
every store
bruh.
was a cannabis store.
Oh, bruh. Those people look like zombies, follow queues there. Every other corner, it's like everyone. And that's not even the right weed, eh?
You understand what I'm saying?
That
and they're selling it at
weed
scale.
is now
I
like,
think they're doing it at scale.
you know when they talk about GMO, GMO
It
it's
is,
not the real
obviously.
ntang,
You
it's not the
understand what I'm saying?
THC.
So therefore, what do you think is happening when there's cannabis stores in each and every single section of each and every mall? Each and every section. It's like there's Edgar's Cannabis, there's Woolworth's Cannabis, there's Jet Cannabis, there's Ackerman's Cannabis, there's Pick and Pay Clothing Cannabis, there's Trueworth's Cannabis. There's no Fabiani Cannabis yet. But you get the picture.
I get it.
Just as there are many retail brands in a shopping center, there are now cannabis brands in the shopping center, in the mall, each and every single place. That's the only entrepreneurship people know. Right? Why? Because big business owns our economy, and big business can give all the white boys enough money to start up branches everywhere in each and every single business. So when you're telling black people and young black people who are the majority of this country, when you're telling 93% of the population that they must go into small business, when you know the game is rigged, when you know the game is fixed, when you know our economy eats small business alive and spits it out, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? We need more entrepreneurs. What are you trying to say when majority of the entrepreneurs are failing? We need more failures. That's what you're trying to say. We're not solving our problems. And they're not coming with solutions. So the only suggestion for me, for especially the youth of the ANC to save their legacy, is do us one favor. If you can get rid of the elders as leadership and replace them and then fall on your own sword according to your own leadership, so that you've got no one to blame. So you cannot say you were ill-advised. So you can say that we will live in this future that we're building with the policies that we're making. We will enjoy it with you. We're in the same boat. And we're not sitting in the top deck while you guys are rowing at the bottom. No, we're in it together. We're rowing alongside one another. Until the youth of the ANC say that, then I don't want to hear anything from them. I don't want to hear anything from them, because that's the only promise that they can actually deliver, is to renew this party. is to renew our dignity, because the ANC represents us as black people. That's why they call us ANC voters. They don't call us blacks. I mean, not blacks. It was another word, but we're not allowed to use it. Right? That's what they say to you. ANC voter. 30%. We are synonymous with the ANC. So if the ANC is going to be a stain on our blackness as a black people, all of us as black people, if that's going to be a stain on our existence, let there be at least a facelift. Let there at least be a renovation. Do you understand what I'm saying? If your grandmother's house is going to be at the top of the hill in Makaya, let it at least be painted. Don't let it get dilapidated, because it's a beacon. That's how they see us. That's the reflection of us. And the reason we're being treated the way we're being treated right now by the rest of the world, the reason we're being bombarded with all these images destroying our social fabric from Israel to America, the reason why all of these people, the Kali Creoles, the Ernst Roots, and all of these people can ridicule us is because they see how the ANC treats us. They see how the ANC treats us. They see that there's no defense for us. They see that we're defenseless. And the plight that you have of black women that are crying that, oh, we are being subjugated, we're the biggest victims. The plight that you see is the same plight for all black people, because the black women that are crying because they don't have black men to defend them. They don't have masculine men to defend them. Right? The ANC is supposed to be our masculinity, our muscle, our moral authority. That is how we are supposed to be proud of ourselves and say we have liberated our people. We've got superior ideals to Western ideals. We will not be subjecting ourselves to neoliberalism. We will not be commodifying our existence and becoming numbers in a database. No, we're going to live out our humanity. We're going to ascribe ourselves to the principles of Ubuntu, that which makes us who and what we are. But we've completely abandoned that. Completely. We've abandoned it so much that we cannot even hold our liberation movements accountable for their failed promises. Because when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we're a reflection of them. We're just as corrupt. We're just as corrupt. You don't have your license, damn it. You start looking for a pink thing that looks like a license. Right? It's pink as well. It looks just like a license. And if you squint your eyes, you can see my face looks like a lion as well. You know what I mean? And I can just lie and say, no, I forgot my license somewhere else. And then the cop is supposed to look the other way. And then we'll complain about our country falling apart. Meanwhile, we're the ones who are breaking it apart and taking advantage of these loopholes, taking advantage of the fact that there is no law and order, taking advantage of the fact that our morality has dropped to such a point as people that we see criminality in ourselves as a default. So when they look at us as criminals, when they say these ANC voters, and we make everything the Swart Gafar said true. We make it true. And that's my challenge, especially for the youth of the ANC, because they're the ones who've got the burden of incumbency. They've got the burden of incumbency. You know, the saddest thing as well, not just only for the youth of the ANC, but directly to the youth of the ANC, is the children of the leaders of the ANC. They need to tell their parents how it feels to be them right now, how it feels to be so ashamed of what your parents are doing up there that you need to hide your history. You can't even post your parents on Instagram. They can't. They can't. It's difficult in the comments, especially on TikTok. You understand what I'm saying? So they need to tell their parents that, look at what you're doing to us. Everywhere we go, we're looked at as criminals, as crooks, as beneficiaries of corruption. And the funny thing is that even when we look at the corruption that's happening within the ANC, the majority of the ANC people are not benefiting from that corruption. It's an elite few. That's why we know things of Spider Republic. We know those things from the ANC because that's what they're crying about in the ANC. They're saying, if you're not a spara, weipar. They're not going to take anything you say seriously. The taps are going to be closed for you, just like everybody else. In Brixton and everywhere else.
Midrand.
Rand water, Yonk, Joburg water. The taps are closed for them as well. So they're not the elite within the ANC. They're not important within the ANC. Right? But their children are just as guilty. So when their children go to school, and then the people can see that, there's an ANC flag in that car. Oh, so-and-so's mom is with the ANC. And the teachers are there telling the kids about how the ANC is killing their country. And then those kids need to say, damn it, ANC is my parents. They need to send that message back home to their parents and tell them of this legacy. Because right now, this week especially, or for the rest of this week, we're going to see, especially on our TV screens, the memorial for the late UDF stalwart and ANC stalwart and COPE leader. And the eulogy is not going to go down as well as we've come to expect of our liberation struggle leaders or liberation struggle heroes. I call them leaders instead of heroes because, there's nothing tangible that we're holding on to that we could use to hero worship them. But we know that they've led us here. So I'm hoping that the youth will lead us out of here. And I'm hoping that it will not take another 10 years. Because it's been 30 years. 30 years of this constitution, right? And how long did they wander in the wilderness before they found the promised land?
Longer than that.
40 years, right? So I'm hoping that it will not take another 10 years for us to be the Joshua generation. And that gets to the promised land. And promised land as in, that was the original promise. That was the original sin. They came here. They took our land. They occupied us. We live with our enemies. We live with them. And we will never be free, right? Until we believe that we can live without them. And the only reason we keep our enemies close is because we think that we depend on them. The arrogance that they have is that they even tell us, we feed you. They starve us and they tell us, we feed you. So they feed us lies because they feed off of us. That is the truth. They eat us. They're cannibals. They are cannibals. They are the ones that eat people. They are the real savages. And they're seeing the suffering that we are enjoying right now, right? And they think nothing of it because they want more of it. They take pleasure in our suffering. It brings them joy. It makes their adrenaline rush. It keeps them young.
Oh.
And that's our blood.
Adrenochrome.
And that's the blood of the youth that they need. And that's why we need the youth to lead. And take back our blood. And take back our promised land. And I'll leave it at that.
See you guys next week. Mic drop.